Wir haben uns gerade Cyberpunk 2077 angeschaut, die Demo, und das war sehr beeindruckend und jetzt führen wir ein Interview darüber und ihr könnt sehr gespannt sein. First of all, may you introduce yourself?
Yeah.
Who are you and what do you do at CD Projekt Red?
My name is Maciej Pietras. I'm lead cinematic animator on Cyberpunk 2077, and me and my team were responsible for creating all narrative animation. That means we are working on animations that are in scenes, in cutscenes, but also in the open world.
Okay. So the first thing I noticed is it is a first-person experience. Why did you choose this playstyle?
The choice of going first person for Cyberpunk 2077 was actually really obvious to us. Simply because the world of Cyberpunk and the Night City where the game takes place is a world full of detail. And you as a player, and we want to show you that those details, that you can look at people's clothes up close, that you can look up into the sky and see the buildings, there's mega buildings that are towering above the city, but also just because of our interactive scene system which we introduced to Cyberpunk, is that our way of the way player can actually interact with the world. That means we are talking here and we are interacting, and the player can look at the camera, do something with the camera and ask you a question about it, and you would react to that. So doing that was only a possibility in first person, and that's why we chose to do this way.
Yeah, that was the most impressive thing, because I think the biggest problem in games is when you have an open world or a big city, it looks always, the life there's always a little bit dull. It's so not very believable, but when you go to Night City the first time and you look at this city and all the people come in front of you, it looks very believable and very alive, and that was the most impressive thing. How did you pull that off?
It involves everyone who works on the game. Like when you're designing a game, you always have to start from high level of how you are thinking about the city. So after we figure out what the city is and how it looks like, then we started dividing the city into 6 different districts. And in those districts, each district is different. It's a different narration. For example, we got Pacifica, which is a super dangerous place where basically the psycho gangs are ruling the streets, where police basically has no surveillance. And the part you saw in the demo was Watson, and basically there you can see that it's more of a trading place, more of a place where people live every day. And with this kind of approach, and with our tight cooperation with all departments in the company, environment, level design, open world team, all those teams are responsible to create this feeling of how the city feels. So as you walk through the levels of the mega building or even to the streets, you can see all of our hard work really coming together. And it involves AI programmers who are working on the crowd system. That way the crowd knows that, we need to stop, there's a red light, cars go by, and then they cross the crosswalk. And this kind of approach of thinking about the city as a ecosystem that is interconnected, that there are parts depending on it, is one of our trademarks of how we approach designing open world games.
That was very impressive. I was blown away the first time I saw the city. Yeah. Is the city fully explorable, or are there restricted areas?
No, we are planning to really create a seamless feeling of a true open world game, and there are as I mentioned previously, there are 6 districts in the game, and all of them are unique. So there will be a strong variety in terms of how those districts will feel. But Night City has mega buildings. Those huge buildings with crazy amount of floors, and those floors are some of them will also be explorable. So that means you on one level you can find a gym, on another you can find vendors where you can buy stuff, and you can even find a gun range, right? So it's all about creating this feeling of a city, of a real city.
Can you say something about the experience point system or the level up system, or is it fully based on cybernetic enhancements?
No, we have a leveling system based on experience. You can gain experience, obviously by completing missions, for instance. But we also have street cred. Street cred is a kind of representation of how recognizable you are as a player on the street. And this might enable you to, for instance, get access to certain vendors, to certain weapon mods that you would not get access, in different way. And when it comes to details of how we are approaching the skills, the abilities, the leveling system, we are basing our game on Cyberpunk 2020, which is a pen and paper role-playing game created by Mike Pondsmith. And we are using that as an inspiration. But when it comes to creating the designs of the gameplay mechanics, this we do on our own.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
So, das war's. Ich hoffe, ihr habt mehr erfahren von Cyberpunk 2077 und wirklich, das Spiel ist wirklich sehr, 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 sehr gut.